Week 12 in the NFL is here, and the work begins, as it always does here on the Splash Play channel, by comparing some of the projections. Our friends over at Stochastic. Let's see what their data thinks here as we begin the work to find the must plays of Week 12. We'll also sort by the top value plays, see what the best plays are, the best value plays are. We'll sort by the chalk. I'm just saying sort way too much up top here. We're going to check the ownership for the top chalk plays of the week. It might not be Bijan based upon the data that updated right before the show. We'll hop over across the aisle, see what ETR thinks, run the cash game lineup on the solver, check their projections. We'll run a sim, we'll do a hand build. And by in this video, guys, you're gonna know all the must plays for NFL Week 12. Week intro aside, let's get into it here. I'm so critical of myself. I should love myself more here. But I appreciate you guys being here. Hope it was a good Thursday night football game for you guys. Of course, well, the game itself I thought was fun in that defensive way. Seeing Josh Allen be somewhat conquered in that game was interesting. But more than anything, I feel like we got a lot of shit right in yesterday's video, so I hope that paid off for somebody out there. I was happy to have profitable days for the NFL and the NBA, and I'll talk about more about the NBA side of that in my Splash Play Bets channel later today. But Thursday night football could have been worse. Honestly, I enjoyed that game, so it might have been the money part, but I did enjoy that game more than I thought. Either way, though, we got to start the work here at the top projected players, and that begins with Patrick Mahomes. Spot here versus Indianapolis, where this projection makes you think we are getting a shootout game. I tend to think, going to the data for that KC Indianapolis matchup before the show, kind of think it's a little more defensively minded in terms of how I'm viewing it. KC's secondary, not particularly good, but definitely at least around league average, a little bit better than that. Indianapolis, their secondary, a little bit better than league average, negative 0.01 EPA per dropback, negative 0.01 EPA per pass. And obviously, Mahomes can get going versus anybody. This is one of the highest pass rate teams in football, but what we saw from Mahomes last week with really, I think the floor against Denver was really the thing I expected into that spot. Now we have a situation here where I wonder if we see the floor again. The total for the Chiefs this week at 26.3 implied points does seem like they're saying, hey, the Chiefs go whole hog. But I think at this price tag, 6,800, a 24 fantasy point projection from Stochastic, I think you're going to get a lot of Mahomes, and I don't know that I want to. So Mahomes here coming up a lot. See for She Rice comes up a lot as well. But our top projected player for the week is Patrick Mahomes. Shout out to the chat. We got a guy, Emo Cowboy here. Tyler, of course, make sure to check out his Terror Tower. I forget what you guys are. Toxic Tower. That's what it is. The rebrand is, I was always on board with Typhal Tower. And once you change the name, I lost it. But shout out to Steven here. Appreciate all you guys being here. And of course, all you guys watching live as well. And all you guys watching after the fact. Last week, one of the most liked videos in channel history. So let's keep doing that here if you want to see this work continue on the rest of the season, as is always my goal here. JSN, 9K salary. Ugh. Facing Tennessee, not a matchup we're afraid of at all. 23.8 fantasy points. Tennessee, certainly not a team that is going to do much to impede whatever Seattle wants to do. Can they keep up enough that Seattle actually has to pass? I think that'd be the bigger question, because Seattle is a negative pass rate team overall, negative 8% pass rate over expectation, negative 9.1% in the red zone. I think that versus Tennessee, they might be happy to run Charbonnet, run Walker. Walker, they've given some coach speak about trying to give some more work. I don't know if I trust that, but certainly can be a thing. 21% ownership expected for JSN right now as well. He is a data darling with stochastic data, with ETR data. I don't see it for me here. We'll see what comes up when we do sort things a little bit. 2.6x value on JSN, 9K salary. Look, we saw last week McCaffrey hit on that price tag. You needed him. You needed the guy in the thumbnail, Bijan, at low ownership. It was one of the better plays I had last week in lineups. I think that could be something with JSN, or maybe the price tag makes him low owned enough. But I don't see where the push comes from on Tennessee side with them and their 13.5 implied points for the week. Seattle, 26.5. Tennessee at home, 13.5. That, I believe, is the lowest I can recall in 7.5 years of doing this kind of content professionally. It's not good. It's not good. So I don't know how you expect JSN to hit the ceiling unless they just beat up on Tennessee and then call off the dogs early, which is a possibility. Jahmyr Gibbs, love the spot for Jahmyr Gibbs. We do have Jameis. The news right before the show, Jackson Dart has not cleared concussion protocol, so we'll get Jameis on that side. So maybe Gibbs gets a little more going against him, which would be helpful for him. But really the big thing is that we get this Giants matchup, which, as we've talked about time and time again, you get a running back against the Giants, great. If they're a reasonable price tag, even better. Gibbs at 8,300. The value metric, 2.7x. Not bad, not great or anything. But I do think for Gibbs, when you are facing the Giants, a team giving up a 0.16 EPA per rush on the year, 0.19 in the red zone as well. Gibbs getting his 18 intended touches a game could be a little bit better for, the bell cow back kind of upside you want. But 4.5 intended red zone touches a game, 1.6 out of the 10-yard line. Barely ahead of David Montgomery on that front with 1.5 a game for him. But I think for Gibbs, what we're hoping for is the explosive plays, the big sort of 50-yard runs that we know Gibbs can do. And frankly, I think not a lot of guys in the league can do as well as Gibbs. I think he's a really good play. One of my favorite plays of the week at 8,300. We'll see what the ownership is. I think it's going to be in excess of 20%, but I think it's a good 20% ownership coming for Gibbs this week. Drake May. So we don't know if Joe Burrow's going or not yet. He has been taking snaps on the side with the first team center. It seems to indicate that maybe Joe Burrow might be able to go after being in practice this week. I don't think he's been full practice. But it seems like it's possible he goes. I believe the Bengals are on a short week this week, so it seems like it might be a situation where they hold out Burrow for this week's game, play him on Thursday night. Cincinnati only has 22.8 implied points here, 6-point dog at home. It kind of seems like a Flacco total. So point being, if you get Burrow in, I'd be a little bit surprised as of right now on Friday afternoon, but I think it's a possibility. If you get Flacco in, obviously Flacco can still push enough, but this matchup is a little bit more, you expect it to be like a 30-30 game, like I think you would want it to be for Drake May right now. But I think for for Drake May at this point, 22.1 projection, he looks good. I think you're going to get him stacked up with Diggs a lot by the field. Unfortunately, you guys know how it is with the Patriots. We've talked about it all year. Same thing with Josh Allen in general as well. Who do you stack him with? Who do you feel good about? I think that's the questions I would have for Drake May, as I do every week. Ownership, I think, goes Diggs' way, but Hunter Henry can get there. Anybody can get there because Cincinnati's really the entire defense. Their secondary is the worst in football. The entire defense, top to bottom, the worst in football. So this is a Drake May spot. Unfortunately, it would be more of a Drake May spot if you got Burrow in and that game should be competitive throughout, and maybe put up more points. But I think Drake May, hard to critique this week, besides the fact that whoever the field stacks him with, it's going to be the wrong pick. Like, it's the way it goes every week. Prepare for it emotionally. You think that Joe Burrow's going to ramp up for Thanksgiving? I would think that makes sense, but if he feels good enough and he can go and he's been apparently practicing enough, it's possible, but I just don't see how the total, I think the total would be really wrong right now if you did assume that Burrow were going. Logging a second full practice. Okay. It's possible. Detroit's going to score 50. I certainly think so. I think Amon-Ra is going to be pretty decently owned as well. We'll talk about that when we get to ownership in a moment. I would rather trust Gibbs than Amon-Ra, given the fact Gibbs has Montgomery coming from every game. I get that, but I think the upside's a lot bigger for Gibbs right now than it is for Amon-Ra, with J-Mo taking a lot of these explosive plays away from what I think he needs for his upside. Gibbs, I just don't think David Montgomery doing what he does, I don't think keeps Gibbs from running for 50-yard touchdowns, or at least one. I think we'll see in this game would be my guess. Bijan Robinson, $8,500 salary. Again, I think we hit on him last week. Felt good about that. He ended up being one of my best plays really of the season. Was so low owned, gotten to about 20% of my lineups that ended up being a meaningful impact. Being profitable last week. Unfortunately, I had Penix in some of those lineups with him, which sucked like that. You had the stack getting there, but Penix did not. And now Penix done for the year. Who knows what his trajectory is for his career with another ACL injury. But Bijan here going against New Orleans. It is a tough run defense. You also have Kirk Cousins breathing down his neck in terms of making this offense not super effective. Cousins also has been really not getting the ball to Bijan as well in the flat. Cousins, the big issue with Cousins, in my opinion, he's always looking downfield, but he doesn't throw it downfield. So it's kind of you're getting the worst of both worlds for him. For Cousins right now, 2.5 deep targets a game, throws 20-plus air yards, negative 1.2 EPA on those plays. He's overall got 7.3 air yards per attempt, but again, Bijan not really getting a ton of checkdowns of the way either. It's just Kyle Pitts. It's Kyle Pitts spam over and over again, or shitty throws over Darnell Mooney's head is what Kirk Cousins has given us so far this year. So I don't think it's a great Bijan spot on paper. Again, Saints defense overall, good versus the run, bad versus the pass, 0.1 EPA allowed per drop back, 0.12 EPA per pass allowed, but a negative 0.07 EPA per rush, negative 0.3 EPA per red zone rush, really shutting down the red zone rushing stuff. And it is more anecdotal. It's just mostly me having watched Cousins play a few games to be like, how is he this bad? It is alarming to me how he's not throwing to RBs more. Maybe that changes here. For Bijan, if anybody chases him, if the ownership is high, I don't want to be there. Earlier in the week, Stochastic had Bijan projected for 60%. I think that was just them not, to be candid, not paying attention to the ownership super well. It's come down a little bit now. But I think for Bijan, if people chase it at all, I just think this is a spot. You got it right last week. You jump off here. And that's probably one of the core principles of NFL DFS overall. Unless you're Jonathan Taylor, then play him every week, I guess. The line of the Pats Bengals had gone up to 8.5 from 5.5, come back down to 5.5. I mean, it was 6.5 this morning because I pulled in the data right before the show. But yeah, I mean, 6.5, 6, not good stuff either way. Actually, let me just make that sure. It's 6. It was 6 before the show. But those are your top plays. Chase Brown just outside the top 5. He's going to be a more important play, it seems, this week. For Chase Brown, the big issue is that New England's run defense is good, pass defense less good. Though honestly, the run defense softened up the last couple weeks. So if you want to make the case for Chase Brown, you can. Chase Brown has absolutely played better since Joe Flacco took over. If I'd assume it's because Flacco making line adjustments, working better than Jake Browning. I've talked about that for a few weeks. I'm never crazy about Chase Brown as super chalk, but I think it makes sense. And I think I'd feel the same way about Chase Brown if Joe Burrow played or didn't. Like if it's Flacco or Burrow, I think Chase Brown is in an okay spot. But the matchup's not an easy one. Like I don't want super chalk Chase Brown. I do think it's going to be the case this week, and we'll see that in a moment. With shocked to see Chase Brown minus 185 for a touchdown. Well, there you go. You're going to take that market data. Certainly Chase Brown, that is a high amount of juice for Chase Brown scored a TD, given the fact that he's only averaging 2.3 red zone opportunities a game this year. That surprises me. Your top value plays according to Stochastic right now. We got Jacoby Brissett going against Jacksonville here, 5,300. Not a bad price tag for him, given the fact he's hit every week. Jacksonville, the big thing with them is that they do generally just play zone to death. For Jacoby Brissett, who does chuck downfield, maybe that makes things a little bit uncomfortable for him. But at this point, with how Jacoby Brissett has played, I really don't have an issue playing him in any spot. Marvin Harrison, I don't know if he goes. I presume he's not going to go again this week, but he's on the projection sets right now is really the main thing to point out. Trey Benson, a little bit in practice. Don't think he's going this week either. So you should get Brissett, having a high pass rate again. Versus zone this year, Jacksonville plays zone 64% of the time. McBride's been targeted more per route run, 24% target per route run versus zone, compared to 22% versus man. So should bode well for McBride again. And if you get Marvin Harrison out, it would be hard not to chase Michael Wilson a little bit with the fact that he did kind of fit the corollary we talked about. If you think Marvin Harrison sucks, play Michael Wilson because he's probably not going to be much worse. And then Michael Wilson went for the best receiving yardage performance of any receiver in football this year. I don't think you see that again, but I think going to the stack depends what the ownership is, but it's not crazy to go back to Arizona again. Not a great total for Arizona this week with 22 implied points, and Jacksonville has technically limited defenses pretty well, limited opposing passing offenses pretty well with their defense. Negative 0.07 EPA per drop back, negative 0.08 EPA per pass. But Brissett has gotten there against tough defenses, so really hard to make the case to not play Brissett at this point when his stack is clearly so valuable. If you have Harrison out, I mean, it can be again. Trevor Lawrence at 5,100. Other side of this game, I think the biggest critique I might have with Brissett or Lawrence here, and I guess the Arizona-Jacksonville game, is that these guys are our two top values that may come in to be your cash game QB, and we generally don't want to play our cash game QB for large field tournaments. Trevor Lawrence, though, does get Brian Thomas back this week for whatever that means at this point. Brenton Strange seemingly trending towards being back as well. So that, I guess, is more weapons for him, but it does make the stacking options a little bit less clear. Not that you're super stoked to play Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers, but at least it was pretty obvious where the ball was going. So for Trevor Lawrence, I personally in this game would rather play Jacoby Brissett. I mean, as Kyle points out here, Brissett throws 100 times a game. That's might be a little bit high in terms of the actual number, but that's basically feels like it every game. For Trevor Lawrence, it seems like they're mostly trying to keep him out of the way of this team, really losing. I feel like he's the reason they lose games. He's won them a few this year, at least one I could think off the top of my head. But he's also played pretty mediocrely overall, negative EPA per drop back, negative EPA per pass. I think they'd be happy to just run the ball and keep him from making things worse. So going against Arizona, who is a bad pass defense, not bad run defense, maybe it forces Lawrence in action a little bit more. But if he's coming up here, Brissett's coming up here, if I had to guess, that means game stacks will come up more than we probably want. Mahomes, he is your third highest value here. Another slate where it's a lot of QB values up top in DraftKings pricing. Again, Mahomes going into Colts. It's not an awful matchup on paper, but I do wonder if Mahomes put some stuff on tape last week that maybe makes the Colts a very smart team, able to, push back a little bit more. You also have Daniel Jones injuring his calf in practice this week. If the Colts don't push as heavily, maybe the Chiefs kind of level out the offense a little bit more as well. I would say if you get, Daniel Jones in full health, you'd expect the Chiefs to have to put up more points because the Colts offense, really nobody has been able to stop too often this year. But Mahomes, really the big thing is that projection is so high. The price tag is not. He probably will be your cash game QB if Brissett isn't. Number 4, Geno Smith going against Cleveland. Not the matchup I would want. $4,500 salary, though, is pretty cheap for Geno. For Geno, the big thing is if Brock Bowers hits an outlier day, you have a shot of Geno being a guy that you might want at that price tag. But frankly, I'd rather play Shador more in the same game. I know it's not going to look particularly good after he went 4 for 16 in relief last week after Dylan Gabriel got concussed. I'd rather play him. I'd rather play Tyrod Taylor. I think there's a few cheap QBs I'd rather take the shot on more. Jameis, I think, as well. So for Geno here, he projects decently. It feels like going against Cleveland is a spot where Geno gets, he maybe loses his job. We do have Aiden O'Connell able to play again. Geno's teetering on, I think, being out of the league, how he's played lately. Chase Brown, a top value at number 5. Again, this really feels like a lofty projection for 21 fantasy points, but as Nolan pointed out, you don't get Chase Brown minus 185 to score TD too often. So I think the market pricing of stuff like that, the fact that this game should be competitive enough. Chase Brown feels to me like Jalen Warren last week a little bit, except the match was worse. So I don't know. I don't have the best vibes for Chase Brown as a top value. Let's go to ownership next. We'll see what we get there. Of course, premium video comes after this one, guys, and hopefully I will round into form here, doing some good content today by that point. But of course, if you want to get access to that video where I go game by game, breaking down all the data here, all the stuff I pull into one clean little spreadsheet, and get access to that spreadsheet as well. You go join the channel right now, $5 to join. I'll pull up the little ad here. Join the channel, $5 to join, and you'll get to see that premium stream coming up right after this one. This stream turns into it when this ends. And also check out Stochastic too. Their data will update as the weekend goes on. Promo code SPLASH over at Stochastic or the link in the description will get you 15% off, and that is their only deal they have going. I'm sure they'll have stuff coming up for Thanksgiving, but if you want stuff, use one email for this week, get their data for the weekend, then get a Thanksgiving deal next week. Look, I'm not telling you how to abuse the product here, but just, whatever. There's always ways to finesse things. So please do click the link down below. Check it out. It does support the show. Half the money you pay to Stochastic comes back to me. Picking the playoffs. I don't like picking the playoffs. I think you're still going to get Aiden O'Connell if there were a benching. Moved to minus 160 now. Well, it's still pretty noteworthy. Back to the Geno I knew and didn't love, the one whose teammates punched him in the face. That's tough to see. Yeah, Geno, I don't know, man. I don't think Geno's as bad as he seems. I just think he keeps making the worst plays in a lot of spots. But, ultimately he has Brock Bowers there. And, Pete Carroll's like, I just wanted to feed the ball to Brock last week, and they didn't really do a great job of that. Should it work out better for him just having that guy, but it doesn't. Chase Brown, 38% expected ownership. It's a lot. Again, he's a little bit too cheap. Matchup against New England, not one I'm super stoked about for RBs, as much as Jalen Warren's was, I think, last week going against this awful Cincinnati defense. But Chase Brown, PPR options are always there for him as well. Again, running well, good adjustments going on at the line that make Chase Brown get more room to operate, which is what he needs to be successful. I don't really have an issue with Chase Brown other than the fact there's a lot of ownership, and I think other guys in the slate could beat him out. But really no issue with it. He's your first guy in for a cash game lineup, I would say. It's 38% ownership, $6,200 salary for Chase Brown on DraftKings. Trey McBride at number 2. A lot of ownership coming for him. Again, the matchup, zone-heavy Jacksonville team, tight ends versus a zone, always a positive thing. But really McBride at this point, I don't know, unless he's playing Houston. And even then, I'd probably go well, he can just get some easy check downs, run after catch stuff. He gets there in every spot. He's really good. 6,800 seems a little bit too cheap for him still. If you're telling me if I could play 31% McBride or 28% Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'd rather play the cheaper McBride personally. But certainly, tight end, you could always spike an upside from random guys there. I think that's the way that, maybe McBride doesn't make a winning lineup this week. But I want to get 30% at least. To me, him being in half my lineups feels about right. McBride is just a good player in a spot that makes sense. Shout out Sammy here. Remember, for 2 years. Love to hear that for Sammy. Love all you freaks. Let's go Squirters and most wonderful squirt of the year. Yes, indeed. It is that time, guys. It is We're starting to put up some Christmas lights. Thinks Alex is going to do today around the house. Christmas tree we got to do next week. Thanksgiving's coming up. Even though I am in the 7 days a week cycle right now with NFL and NBA, let's all take some time to appreciate I don't know. Let's all survive. Let's not hang. Don't report me, please. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8K salary, 28% ownership. It's a lot, man. Amon-Ra is actively losing work to Jameson Williams right now. The play calling of Dan Campbell, excuse me for a second. Since the season to also be hacking up a lung lately. The play calling of Dan Campbell's not been good for Amon-Ra. Like the fact that J-Mo's getting explosive plays now, he's not totally mitigated to a role that sucks. Like it's not great for Amon-Ra's upside. You have Laporta out, so there's nobody filling in for that role. The tight end work with Brock Wright and whatever else they have is like nothing meaningful. So Amon-Ra can get there. You know, the Giants, not a good pass defense either, even though they are much worse in the run defense than they are the pass defense. Like they're bad at both. But for Amon-Ra, let me just look at the splits real fast. Not Ramondre. So for Amon-Ra, facing a man-heavy defense, Giants play man 40% of the time. Amon-Ra has been really good versus man defense, 31% target rate. J-Mo's been at 18. Versus zone, Amon-Ra is still at 30, though. It's not like you're gaining a whole lot there from the matchup. Pass defense overall for the Giants, 0.08 EPA per dropback, 0.09 EPA per pass. Little bit softer versus the slot than out wide, but it's basically the same. They're bad everywhere. Look, Amon-Ra can get there. I think I'd play Amon-Ra more if I'm going like a Jameis Winston stack on the other side. And it's like, okay, we have a competitive game. Jameis Winston is like creating massive upside for Theo Johnson and Wandale again. I guess Slayton is in practice, so he might be back in. Whatever the option is you choose for a Giant stack. To me, that's when I'll play Amon-Ra. But otherwise, like if I'm not playing Giant stuff, just play Gibbs, I think. Just play Gibbs, play Jameson Williams, play the big explosive plays because the Giants shouldn't be able to stop him, I think. And the total for Detroit at 30 implied points, like, yeah, I mean, I think you want to play these guys. It's a lot of ownership for both, though. And JMO at 15% owned, David Montgomery at 8. I mean, I think you play different configurations of it and hope you just capture somebody having an outlier day and ideally not the chalk. But I think Gibbs, like, I would really find it hard to believe that Gibbs doesn't give you 20 this week. I find it hard to believe that Gibbs can give you like 25. You know, the projection will account for the first part of that. The 25 part, that's just how I view it. Emmanuel Wilson. So Josh Jacobs limited in practice. I think the assumption right now is that he wouldn't go, but he'll go Thanksgiving instead. I think that's kind of the way that I'm reading into the quotes he's given. But he can play. If he does play, it is a soft matchup against Minnesota. But, you know, Jacobs at his price tag, not sure going to be dying to get there. Emmanuel Wilson, though, as a $5,300 play, I think he's nothing special. But we don't have Marshawn Lloyd activated yet, so you have no real threat. Chris Brooks could take some work away. He's not getting anywhere near the snap share that Emmanuel Wilson has. Last week, Jacobs got to 12 snaps before he got hurt. Emmanuel Wilson ended up playing 39. Chris Brooks played 5. That's barely a role. So I think for Emmanuel Wilson, he's not quite Kyle Monangai going against, what was that? Was that the Giants? You going against the Giants, going against, again, the defense we want to attack every week. And I do think Emmanuel Wilson on the year, wow. Emmanuel Wilson, a really bad 2% avoided tackle rate when taking a run. So he's not doing anything. Like, he's really not special. I beat the shit up out of Woody Marks, and Woody Marks, I think, made the winning lineup yesterday. Actually, no, he didn't end up making the final one. He was close, but, like, he didn't do shit against Buffalo. And that's the fucking Woody Marks. That's the Woody Marks I know. But, like, I gave him a lot of shit for having, like, a 7% avoided tackle rate. Emmanuel Wilson is, like, not making anybody miss at all in the run game. So he's nothing special there, but he'll take what's there, I think is sort of how I view Emmanuel Wilson. And Minnesota's run defense is the weakest part for sure. 0.04 EPA per rush allowed, flat 0 EPA allowed in the red zone. They're negative numbers versus the pass. So I think Emmanuel Wilson, a decent play at 5,300. I don't mind him, but he's not Kyle Monangai. The matchup's not there. The talent's not there the same way. He's kind of just the dude if Jacobs doesn't play. JSN, Stochastic for 21% ownership despite that 9K salary. Woof, that's a lot for a guy playing Tennessee. Derrick Henry going against the Jets, 11%. Just we'll highlight that because it does seem like Henry is getting voluminous work, even though he still looks awful in the underlying numbers, not missing tackles, not very efficient. David Montgomery, Your Giants leverage here down at 8%. Kenneth Walker, your potential JSN leverage here down at 7%. Javonte Williams going against a Philly team that's not particularly good defensively versus the pass or the run, 5%. So some interesting ownership here as we go through. Let's go to ETR next. We'll see what our cash game looks like, guys. Next stage of our journey here. You know, look at the, let's run some lines for yesterday's showdown again. Let's see how that goes. Let's go to default here. All right, good. Touch the projection up. And the goal of this part, see what a cash game looks like as a Friday afternoon, but also get a read on where projection is going to drive people to with ETR data. We have an idea from seeing stochastic side. If I had to guess, stochastic will be getting some Mahomes. Will they be getting it here on ETR? So we're going to find out. But guys, show some love if you can here. Hit that like button, subscribe. If you get any value to this video at all, it goes a long way for me here. Just one dude constantly finding the YouTube algorithm. And look, you guys do mostly watch this video every week, so I appreciate it. But let's keep hitting that like button. Let's see how far we can push this channel here, because I think this must-plays video, hopefully one of the better ones in the industry. But in terms of what I'm showing you here, ETR and stochastic, just nobody does this kind of basic thing, even though these are the two sites that everybody is playing lineups, playing data from. So please help me out, like and subscribe. Of course, check out stochastic, link down below. Check out the solver, link down below. And again, join the channel here if you want to see the premium video coming up at the end of this one, because I'll be transitioning right over to it immediately. I will not be transitioning. You will not see me changing genders here on stream, but you will see me transitioning to a premium stream. And then also showing you my genitals on that is what we're going to, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do game by game. I'm going to spin my penis around and tuck it away and then show you what it would look like if I did. Your cash game live. Great transitions as always here on Splash Play as I try to keep my brain from bleeding. We'll talk about the stuff. Trevor Lawrence, Chase Brown, Emmanuel Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Wan'Dale Robinson. That would be amazing content for somebody. Maybe not for me. Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. We are getting the natural Cardinals double yet again here without Brissett. Kyle Pitts makes it as well. 2 tight end lineup for the ETR cash game build and Seahawks D. So Trevor Lawrence not stacked up here. We're getting bringbacks. We are naturally getting a Jacksonville, Arizona game stack. One of my general rules of thumb is that when I get the game stack in the cash game lineup, I don't want to play the actual game stack too much in actual lineups and tournament large field stuff, because people then just try to figure out ways around it. We'll try to make it work. So I think for these guys right now, nothing really I'd want to do. I don't love this Jacksonville, Arizona game. It just feels a little trappy. And like, I like Trey McBride a lot. Michael Wilson, if we get Harrison out again, which I think the data is assuming, like, I get it, but it feels like people are going to chase that so hugely. And if you're getting to the projections too, it's like the 5-1 builds for the Bills yesterday, where it's like, if it happens naturally in the data and people also are like, yeah, the Bills are going to fucking kick their ass, Davis Mills sucks, then like you end up getting it overplayed and it's just better off to not play that. So that's how I feel about it. Any Thornton interest? Tyquan Thornton? No. Why, everybody else, they're healthy. Why would you play Thornton now? He does get deep targets, but he's not getting a lot of them. The Tuck Hunter will be spectacular. Yeah, I'm sure. You got to tune in, guys, if you want to find out. Right now in these top 25 lineups with no variance on, so it's just pure projection math here, you're getting 100% Trey McBride, 100% Chase Brown, 100% Amon-Ra St. Brown, double Browns here. What can Brown do for you? 100% Emmanuel Wilson, and 96% Wan'Dale. I got to say, for ETR, there's usually like 1 or 2 guys that like are in all the lineups. 4 guys in all the lineups is a lot. I think for ETR data, you're going to get a lot of the samey kind of plays this week, which, you know, can work. 70% of the top 25 lineups have Michael Wilson and Trey McBride together. So, again, you're getting that Cardinals double a lot naturally. 84% of lineups have natural correlation between the Giants and the Lions game with Amon-Ra and Wan'Dale. So, you're getting a lot of that as well. Kind of naturally getting a Giants. I don't think people are going to play Jameis that much, but you are naturally getting, if I'm going to critique the Cardinals Jacksonville game for that, you are getting natural Lions Giants correlation here as well. You're not getting the QB with it. You are getting those guys. 84% of lineups have at least 2 Cardinals. 12% of them have 3. So that's one thing right away you could do is limit yourself to 1 Cardinal. And honestly, same thing we talked about yesterday. I actively said in this video, and the guy was confused, maybe explain it. And I didn't know why he needed me to explain it. But I said max 1 in a lineup of Josh Allen or James Cook. You could make the case that this week do a max 1 rule of Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. And if McBride doesn't hit as chalk, then you get leverage with Wilson. If Wilson fails and the back-to-back week here after he went nuts last week at a level that seems impossible for him, then you get McBride. So I think that thought would occur to me here looking through the data. But let's pull in our game stacking stuff here. Get a few uniques per lineup as well. We'll put variants on. We'll build 250. And we'll see what we get in terms of our top ETR sim lineups here. So we are on the sim stage of the journey. Stochastic sim coming up next as well. And we'll find out what we got. Isaiah Hodgins, funnest cheapie. He didn't play well last week. How many snaps did he play? Hodgins, 57 snaps last week. Wandale, 70. It depends though if Slayton's in. If Slayton's in, I think it fucks it up. I think Slayton's going to be in. Hyatt, 44. So at the very least, Slayton has taken those 44 Hyatt snaps. And that's most likely, I guess. You could get Hodgins playing 50. Wandale playing... That's 70? Was that actually the number? Wandale playing 70. That's fucking crazy. That's a lot of snaps for Wandale. Next one was big last night. Still lost all. Sorry to hear that. It is tough, man. Like so what I did on yesterday's slate, again, the stuff we talked about here, it is what I always tell you guys. I show you my gambling here on stream. The most literally yesterday. I was like, everybody's gonna play a shitload of Bills, so I had at least 3 Texans. Max 1 of Josh Allen and James Cook in a good portion of lineups. I still did not hit. I was not even close to the nuts. Like I was not. It's fucking unbelievable how you could still you get the kind of general game stuff, the general lineup structure right, and still not get the right plays. So that's showdown for you. Is what it is. I was really happy to turn a profit though for NFL and NBA because that's only happened a couple times this year. Like it's hard to do both in the same day and do them well. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. It's the right play. And unfortunately in DFS these days, with how sharp everybody is, the right play will not always lead you to having winning lineups. And especially like the actual nuts lineup in a showdown. It just is not that frequent. It's funny though, because like back in the days of DFS, I was playing a little bit at Barstool when I was there. And I actually play, if you guys care about Barstool lore, used to talk about DFS all the time with my friend K Marco there. We used to work with on some stuff and the Barstool U side of the blog there. And playing DFS back in the day, and like back in the day for DFS, for NBA in particular, it's like you just had to know who was playing and who's going to play a lot of minutes. And that was enough to win you money. And like for now in NFL, for NBA, it's like, you got to get you got to make guesses initially on like how you're going to make your lineups for a showdown kind of build, especially. And then you also have to like get everything 100% right, or else like you're not going to do it and you're not going to have the nuts. And like yesterday, I believe was a solo first place for it because it was like easy to get unique on that slate. But honestly, just having the right angle is not enough in 2025. I know I'm not saying anything you guys don't know, but like really just, it can be like frustrating for some people, I think, especially like newer players where it's like, man, I got it all right. And it's like, yeah, you got it all right, but like you didn't get the nuts. You just have to get the nuts around it. Well, while I had no DFS success, hedged with bets aligned to the story we were telling, came with a tidy profit. I mean, people do say that betting is the new cash games. I'm like, I think that's true to some extent. Your top ROI lineups, according to ETR data, we're simming it out in the Millie Maker here. So a read on the largest field tournament, the biggest upside tournament. We got Jameis Winston. Okay, so we're getting a game stack here with Giants and Detroit, which I definitely want to play some of here. We got Jameis Winston, Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs, Wandale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt makes it. I presume they have not put Slayton in the data set yet. Jamison Williams on this one, so fading Amon-Ra. Trey McBride, David Montgomery, and Gibbs. They're giving you a Gibbs and Montgomery spot here. It is hard for both guys to hit. This has happened before on large field tournaments, and the Giants' run defense is that bad. So I don't hate doing this a little bit. Browns D as well closes it out in this lineup. Highest ROI at 580% on ETR data. Jameis Winston at number 2. Emmanuel Wilson makes this one. Jahmyr Gibbs again. Luther Burden makes it. Burden snap count last week was up to 33. I say up. It was that actually the week before, but he had better results last week. I don't know if I'm buying it on Burden, but 7% ownership, sure. Wandale Robinson makes this one. He's going to be a popular play with ETR data, it seems like. Amon-Ra makes this one. Trey McBride makes this one. Alvin Kamara, low on Kamara. Workload's not been great for him, but he's still getting about 17 touches a game. Colts D makes this one as well. That's kind of interesting. Getting a fade on that Mahomes ownership. That should be high. Number 3, you have a Trevor Lawrence stack. Lawrence, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery here. So fading Amon-Ra, fading Gibbs, playing Montgomery from that Lions stuff. T. Higgins makes it with no Jamar Chase suspended for spitting. So Higgins 15% owned. That'd be pretty reasonable for a guy that usually you want to jam in when Chase is out. Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers is a double stack with Lawrence. You also are getting 2 Cardinals on the bring back. McBride and Michael Wilson. Seahawks D makes it as well. Again, we're naturally getting Lawrence plus these two. I don't know that it's going to make you terribly unique to add on Brian Thomas or Jacoby Myers, because that's going to be the first thing people think when they see the QB is Trevor Lawrence and you're not getting the stack, but you're getting a couple Cardinals. I just really think the Jacksonville-Arizona game stacks are going to be a little bit overowned this week. Number 4 ROI lineup, you got Jacoby Brissett again, or not Brissett for the first time rather. Emmanuel Wilson again. Ashton Genty makes it. Wan'Dale Robinson again. Michael Wilson again. Romeo Doubs makes this one. Trey McBride again. Saquon Barkley and Raiders. Really feels like ETR does not want to fade those Cardinals guys. You're getting at least McBride in all the top 4 lineups, and McBride plus Wilson in 2 out of the top 4. And number 5, you have Jared Goff, massive Lions game stack here. Goff with Kenneth Walker. So you're getting some JSN leverage there by playing the RBs. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Wan'Dale Robinson, Hunter Henry, Brock Wright. I'm not sure you get Goff. Like, Goff's got to throw probably 4 touchdowns here. I don't know if you get Gibbs with that. If you're going to play Wright, Amon-Ra, and JMO, like 2 of those 3 can hit. I don't think 3 plus an RB. But Hunter Henry, Brock Wright, Seahawks D makes it. So that's a good lineup. Like, I like Lions game stacking stuff a little bit more than just playing Amon-Ra and Gibbs. I think that's going to be really overowned. No Mahomes coming up top here, no. Because probably, I presume they think he's overowned, or they might not have him as well projected than Stochastic. Or as Stochastic, that might be the case. Overall, the highest ROI players in ETR data, Jaguars D, barely getting played, but it's a 244% ROI. We saw that hit last week. Pittsburgh D was in the Millie Maker winning lineup, getting leverage against the fact that game stack was so highly owned for Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. I mean, it was everywhere. Just playing Jaguars D, Cardinals D, that can be a thing that pays off, even though obviously people will assume that there's going to be production in that game. Number 2, Jalen Hyatt, a 166% ROI. Man, it's a lot of Jalen Hyatt. If Slayton's in, I don't see how you'd play him at all. Let me just confirm here. They got to not have Slayton in the data set. If Slayton they don't have playing right now. If Slayton plays, I don't know if this is all going to become Slayton, but I presume it'll mean that ETR does like Slayton a little bit. Romo Dunze, 164% ROI, 0% exposure. Definitely a portion of the field's going to chase Burden, go to Odunze, who is still the alpha receiver, and though it hasn't seemed like it lately. That could be a move for Chicago. Caleb Williams, high ROI as well. These guys are barely getting played, but Chicago stack seemingly does hit for $1 million upside in the sim enough. And then Zay Flowers here, 160% ROI, barely getting played. Same thing for Lamar. You go Lamar, Flowers, Skinny. It's coming up a little bit. They could certainly beat the shit out of the Jets if they want. You know, I like the Tyrod side a little bit more because he's super cheap, and you could build a Jets stack for 10K, like a Jets double with A.D. Mitchell with John Mechie for like legit 10K. I think it's kind of appealing. That's that. To solver include ETR projections, you have to pay for them separate, yeah, but they do come in when you have it synced up. I get it because I'm an affiliate of them, but you can get them. You just have to pay for both separately. All right, let's go to Stochastic next. So that's the ETR sim. Last stage of our journey here before we do a hand build. Yes, indeed. Promo code SPLASH. ETR does not have a promo code SPLASH, but the solver does. All right, guys. Oh, actually, no, this is not it. Hold on. Let's refresh this page. Let me make sure it's the right data. Okay, that's the right data. Good. All right, 10K lineups here. We're going to have to compete 10K times. But guys, show some love if you can. Hit that like button and subscribe here. Of course, every Monday, Thursday, and Friday on this channel, I do this work for the main slates in the NFL. Your Monday Night Football Showdown, your Thursday Night Football Showdown. Next week for Thanksgiving, we'll do a video as well, probably on Wednesday. I think is how it's going to look. But do join along here. Subscribe, hit the like button. In particular, the like button helps a lot. YouTube algorithm is always a bitch to deal with, especially this time of year where people have lost enough on the NFL. Now they're tired of it. But as you can see, hopefully from the content this week, our guy Dylan won 8K and gave me some credit for that on the Monday night video. Yesterday, I think we got more things right than anybody else in the industry here on Thursday Night Football. That's not me just touting. Like, I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm not always the best at getting results for myself. I'll admit that. For you guys on here, I do good content around this stuff, so show some love. Join the journey here. We're all just trying to gamble as intelligently as we can, and that's all I can ever promise you here on this channel. But hit that like button, subscribe. Of course, check out Stochastics. You're going to see this data in a moment here, but of course, it updates as the weekend goes on. So make sure to get in the Sims. Really, it's important as well if you have not used Sims before, just playing with it for a little bit. Just pay for a week. I mean, I'd say pay for a month ideally, but pay for a week and like play with them, see what the good lineups look like, see what your most duped lineups are for showdowns, as well as a really important part of the process. But the more you understand what like winning lineups look like, not just the ones you see in a tournament you're in, but also in the data, in ETR data, in stochastic data, the better you'll have a sense of like what building good lineups looks like and what shitty ones look like. And, you know, not a discredit to anybody in the chat here, but like when I do shows here and do shows in stochastic, I can tell when people have like spent their time building, you know, sim stuff, understanding how data works, because like their lineups look one way, and you have people that are just like, so I'm gonna play this guy. Oh, I'm shitting. I'm shitting. This is me doing an impression. So I'm shitting real hard and building my lineup. Like you can tell when it's those lineups versus ones that like have some understanding of how this should look. So just use Sims if you can. Like I'm selling you a product here. You're gonna make half the money you pay to Stochastic if you do sign up. But like really, like if you're struggling with DFS, so much of this is just building up a callus by understanding what good lineups look like day after day, slate after slate. And now's the time. Your number one ROI lineup according to Stochastic data here. We got a Jared Goff stack. Jared Goff, Chase Brown, Kareem Hunt makes this one. I mean, Pacheco might play this week, right? Because he was in practice earlier in the week. Let's see. Injury update. So he was limited, but he does have an injury designation for the game. So I think Pacheco plays this week. I know Dart's out. We're talking about Isaiah Pacheco here. I think Isaiah Pacheco might play, so Kareem Hunt, you know, treat that with a little bit of a grain of salt here. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Alec Pierce makes this one. First time in a while that Pierce passed up Michael Pittman in receiving yards projections this week across the industry. Brock Bowers, a tight end. Alvin Kamara, Saints. So you are getting a Detroit double. No bring back from the Giants here. But that, you know, that Lions total is so high. If Goff's not your calf game QB, like he should be a really popular large field tournament. Jackson Dart is in the second lineup here. I guess why you're saying Dart is out. I'm aware Dart is out. The data hasn't updated though. So Dart in this one, obviously putting Jameson Williams in, you can make that assumption. Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, JSN. It is a Wandale stack with Isaiah Hodgins and Theo Johnson. Frankly, that gets more appealing with Jameis than it is with Jackson Dart, in my opinion. Alvin Kamara makes it again. Saints D makes it again. Kamara and Saints in the top two lineup. And ETR had some of Kamara too. I got to say, Kamara has shown nothing this year that would make me think he's a good play. And even though, like, I don't think Bijan's a great play this week going against that Saints D with Cousins as his QB, I don't want to play the Saints D against them. I don't like that coming up here. Number 3, you have Jalen Hurts, Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara again, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Romeo Doubs, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Saints D. Kamara in the top 3 lineups was not what I had in my bingo card for today. Number 4, Sam Darnold single. Darnold, Chase Brown, Emmanuel Wilson makes this. JSN, sure. Wandale, Hodgins, McBride, Bowers, and Saints. Saints D, all the top 4 lineups. Number 5, you have Lamar Jackson, Chase Brown, Emmanuel Wilson yet again. JSN yet again, Zay Flowers, Wandale Robinson, Mark Andrews, Kareem Hunt, and Giants. Definitely some samey lineups here for Stochastic. The Kamara Saints thing. What was the ROI on ETR for Kamara? Kamara, they had an 80% ROI on in the ETR sim on 13% exposure. So both sites thinking Kamara's not a bad play. I mean, Kamara on the year, 16.5 intended touch the game. Oh, God. Negative 0.1 EPA per rush, negative 0.2 EPA per pass. 17% avoided tackle rate, so he's doing his part. 3.7 targets a game. 2 red zone opportunities a game. That is so low for a guy that used to get like 5.8 inside the 10-yard line. Atlanta's run defense is bad. I mean, I agree with that conceptually. Let's look at the snaps real fast for Kamara. Kamara, 43 snaps the last time the Saints played. Neal, 24. Estimate 3. Coming after a bye, Kamara's snaps might go down for Neal too. I don't like the Kamara play. I'll say that, like, the Sims will give you guys some times, and it's like I'll go, I don't know about this, and I'll go like, well, fuck, that Sim was right. And I might feel that way about Kamara later, but like he's cheap at 5,500. I get it, But I feel like there's a little bit too long, like too much of the historical Kamara sample size coming in. And the reality is like, he is as dusty of a veteran as any running back in football right now. Like in terms of how he's being used, especially. And I think after a bye, you get Devin Neal and more. Like, why wouldn't you? So, I don't like it. Isaiah Hodgins, though, I'm cool with this. $3,300 salary, 39% ROI. Slayton coming back in does change the trigonometry a little bit here for Isaiah Hodgins, but he played a lot last week. Not the 70 snaps Wandale played, but about as close to that as you can get. So I get it with Hodgins here. And it'll only look better with Jameson. Jameson and him clearly had a connection last week. Kareem Hunt, 15% ROI for him. Pacheco being in feels like that should make that not a play. But Kareem Hunt does have good third down equity, good red zone equity. So sure. Saints D, 11% ROI. Cousins has been bad. Has he been this bad that you play the Saints D? I'm not sure about that, but Stochastic likes him in the data right now. Chase Brown, a 10% ROI. Alvin Kamara, an 8% ROI. Not a surprise given how many top lineups he was in. Tanner Hudson, Bengals tight end, 2,500 coming up a little bit. Not really sure why. Browns D, 4% ROI for them. Brissett, 1% ROI. Everybody else is negative. Highest stack ROIs. No single QB stacks have a positive one, but Mahomes is top. Brissett number 2. Sam Darnold number 3. QB doubles, you're getting Brissett, the highest ROI at 13%. Jackson Dart would be number 2, so just say that's Jameis, and it's probably looking similar. Geno at number 3. Mahomes at number 4. Everybody else is negative. And number 5, QB triple stacks. Joe Flacco number 1. Geno Smith number 2. That's surprising. Jackson Dart number 3 / Jameis, let's say. Mahomes number 4 at a 2% ROI. And Daniel Jones at number 5, but with a negative ROI. Dart out makes Hodgins very appealing to me, even with Slayton in. If he's coming up this much in the sim with Dart in, I don't think Hodgins' projection is going to get worse. What did Hodgins do? It's like that was the first game Hodgins played this year, wasn't it? Oh, fuck, my sheet is breaking. Hold on. Sometimes in Excel, parts of my sheet will turn white because I presume it has too much shit in it. It's got too much fucking shit on it. To quote the great Carl Havoc. But it's got too much shit in it, and sometimes it'll just turn white. It's like, I feel like Excel as a product that's like a million fucking years old, I feel like it shouldn't do that. I'll make that stand. I think products should work better, especially when you're Microsoft. Isaiah Hodgins, so a 24% target per out run. That was, in fact, his first game played last week. He's always been a good target earner. It's a real small sample size for Hodgins to become like sim chalk, is what I'll say. Like, I think Hodgins, I've liked Hodgins in the past, but there's clearly a reason that he's fallen down the pecking order, right? Like, he's not actually that good. So that's that. Does he have the shower narrative with Mike Kafka? I didn't know that. Are they just showering together as coach and player? I presume they went to college together. Because Kafka's pretty young. I don't know. And that's right. Why give a spreadsheet a million rows in a sheet when he can't handle it? Amen, brother. That's what I'm saying. But it's like sometimes if I tweak something, it'll just like go white. I don't know why. Anyway, if it's going white, it ain't right. Like we always say here. Chase Brown, 95% Chase Brown. Fuck that, man. I know when people like that I just disagree with the sim, and I'm going to fucking lose if I do. But like, this is so much Chase Brown versus the New England defense where I've said it every week. Mike Vrabel teams going back to like the dawn of cavemen days. The one thing they can do is defend the run well. They don't defend the pass well at all. But they can defend the run well. This is so much Chase Brown. He does not feel like an every lineup play for me. Trey McBride, 57% exposure, field at 32. Sure, that's fine. It does feel like a little bit crazy to go nuts on ownership on a tight end who is the highest price of the year, basically, when he's going to be super chalk. But, you know, McBride's great. Zone matchup, it all fits. Alvin Kamara, 39% exposure, field at 11. This I will not be on. I'm not going to be on this Chase Brown, put him in every lineup bullshit. I'm not going to be playing Kamara 3x the field. I don't want that. I don't agree with it, and I don't want it. Sorry to yell at the sim guys, but like this is like the most I've been in disharmony with the sim in a while. Saints D, more than 3x exposure here. 37% fields at 11. Again, Cousins sucks. I don't think he sucks this bad. And this might be a little bit of personal bias. I don't think Darnell Mooney is as bad as it seems. But like the Falcons this week, I think Zach Robinson, the OC, said, you just got to give Mooney more targets. I don't think that's true. Like, I don't think Mooney's good. I don't think he's Drake London. But I think they're going to try. And I think the Saints defense is bad enough. Like, I'd rather go to Mooney with Cousins than play Saints D at 40%. That's fucking insane. And I played Saints D a lot this year. Like, I don't think they're bad. This is so much for for this shit. Kamara and Saints D, fuck that. Let's see if I keep this energy for the Sunday live before lock, but I think they have to change it. It's really how I feel about it. JSN at 34%, Fields at 20. Sure. He's really expensive though. Highest leverage plays, it's Chase Brown, 54% more than the field. When you know how in NFL DFS, when you see the chalky play and you're like, I really want to get infinitely more of it. Because that's what we do in NFL, right? NFL is so volatile. I just don't think you should play 95% of anybody besides Kyle Monungai a couple weeks ago. I locked him. I locked him and Travion Henderson that week. You know what fucking happened? Travion Henderson didn't hit that week. Then he proceeded to hit every week after. I just don't think you play a Chase Brown at 95. Nolan here, OMG, who is a very good DFS player, like Judkins' leverage on Chase Brown. Sure. I like anything that's not Chase Brown if he's going to be played 95% by a sim. Like, it's just not, I think, the way NFL DFS works these days. Alvin Kamara, 39% exposure, field at 11. You're getting 27% more in the field. So much. Saints D, highest leverage play here. 26% more in the field. Trey McBride, 24% more. Kareem Hunt, 23% more. Big stands by Stochastic Data. I'll give him that. I don't have to like them. They are making stands. Bijan Robinson, the data agrees with my thumbnail, I guess. Negative 12% leverage on him. If you hit on him last week, congrats. We are an elite club of people that made the right play once. This week, though, I do not think it is Bijan Robinson time. Yeah, that's how that goes for me. Derrick Henry, 1% exposure, negative 10% leverage on him. I'd rather play Derrick Henry than 95% Chase Brown. Derrick Henry, no juice on the year. He's playing the Jets. If he's going to have 2 touchdowns, this is the spot for him. Ashton Genty, negative 10% leverage. He's not really on my radar versus Cleveland, but he was so bad last week. Maybe he kind of bounces back in the way that NFL DFS, it always works out. Seahawks D, you are not playing at all against the Titans. I get it. 4K is pretty expensive, but that total for the Titans is really bad. And T. Higgins, fade on him too. They only have him for 12% ownership. I think it'll be a bit higher with Jamar Chase out, but the price tag is up for T. Higgins at 7,100. They only want him at 5%, Fields at -8. Damn. All right. We'll do our single lineup sim here, and it is also time, 5-minute warning for everybody. We are going to move over to the premium stream in 5 minutes. Scheduling it should appear on your screens momentarily. So stay tuned here if you're a premium member. We're going to go to the game-by-game view in a moment. And if you are not a premium member, join now if you want to see that video. I'm pretty sure it'll add some value. I think it does every week. That's how it goes. Thoughts on Saquon? It's a good matchup for him. And you really think it's a squeaky wheel week for A.J. Brown in the pass game again. But, you know, it's not bad. All right, let's put in my favorite plays of the week. Gibbs. Done. I'm not playing. I mean, the sim is going to want me to play Chase Brown. Or we're in the spot. Do we just play Chase Brown and give the sim what it wants? Or do we not do that? I'm low on time. So I'm going to give the sim Chase Brown. It's like, it's like I've been watching the Welcome to Derry show and catching up on it a little bit through that. Of course, it loves to feast on scared children and likes to scare them so that it's like marinating children, I believe is what the canon is. The sim is the same thing. The sim just wants to marinate Chase Brown and it wants to eat it. Wants to give Chase Brown the deadlights. So we're going to give him Chase Brown with Jahmyr Gibbs here. We'll try to get unique elsewhere. Receiver, I'm going to play T. Higgins. The sim doesn't like T. Higgins. But let's do that. Let's try it this way. We're playing double Bengals. That gets us unique, or more unique than playing Chase Brown normally. Sure. Let's give that a shot for now. Other receivers I like. I'm going to go, well, I can't go Jameis because it still thinks that Jackson Dart is in. All right, guys, let's see. I'm going to make a negative ROI lineup here, in fact. I'm going to go Tyrod Taylor. I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell, who was playing a lot, took Arian Smith's role. John Mechie played 50 fucking snaps last week. Now he's playing a Baltimore defense that is looking better week to week, but is not very good. For what it's worth, if Jameis were in the data set, I'd be playing a lineup with him. He's not in the data set, though, so we're going to try to go this way with a Jets double. I'm going to give the sim Trey McBride. Again, we know that it likes to eat flavorful children, so we're going to give this. So we're going to give the sim Trey McBride to tie it all together. DST, we know the sim does not like Seahawks. I'm not going to give it Saints, though. I refuse to give it Saints D. I'm going to give it Seahawks D. Let's see what happens here. 6,800 left for one spot. Show affordable players. Play Travion, not really the spot. Play Jalen Warren. Diggs without Drake May. It's kind of playing a Cincinnati game stack without the QBs. Let's try it. This is not going to be positive. We got Tyrod Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, T. Higgins, A.D. Mitchell, John Mechie. Fuck you, Sim. Trey McBride, Stephon Diggs, Seahawks D. You know what? Let me let the Sim complete the lineup here. I bet it probably wants me just to put in like fucking JSN. All right, here. We'll take the Tyrod double. Sim, put a little bit of randomness on. You finish the lineup. You tell me what you want. We got 1 minute and 40 seconds left, Sim. All right, so it put in JSN. It put in Kareem Hunt. It put in Packers D. All right, I'll take it. 24% ROI. Jets double. Tyrod, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, JSN, John Mechie, A.D. Mitchell, Trey McBride, Kareem Hunt, Packers D. That is a positive ROI lineup right there. But I like the cheap QB stacks this week. Jameis, Tyrod. There's one other cheap one that I like that I've already forgotten. But I'll mention it when we go game by game in a moment here. Cousins, I'll take that shot. I think there's one more under 4,500 as well. We're going to do that in a moment. Stay tuned for the premium stream, guys. That's coming up. Before we do that, though, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Of course, I do the work here as best I can. Mondays, Thursdays, showdown slates, Friday, main slate, premium video right after that. NBA, 2 p.m. every Monday to Friday as well on the Splash Play Bets channel. I'm working hard here, guys, so please show some love. Hit that like button, subscribe, do it all. Check out Stochastic, 15% off with that promo code SPLASH. Link down below. The only way I can keep doing this show is if you guys go sign up over there, get the best sim products. Another guy won a Millie Maker with Stochastic data last week, so go check it out. It is helping people a lot and probably more than I can in the world of NFL. So please do join, use it, make money maybe, who knows. And join the Discord too if you want to see the video coming up. You got to join this channel. If you want my data sheet, same thing as well. But go check it out over down below. Join on desktop if you can, because iOS will charge you VIG if you do that. And stay tuned, premium members, everybody else. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.